Hi you guys, this is Allison. I was hanging out in my space to craft and ready to do another page layout with one of the senior album page kits that I made. So I have 3 pictures. They're in 2 different orientations, which complicates your layout a little bit. I've got 2 that are portrait and 1 that is landscape. I really want to include them both, or all 3, but I wasn't really sure how to do it. So I have several papers from the same paper pad. There's this peachy pink grid, this floral, a white and black polka dot, and then this green swirl. I want to use all of them. I like them all together. So what I've done is create a black frame. I did gut that piece of black paper so that I had it to mat the photos. And I went online and found a sketch that I had to modify pretty significantly because of the number of photos that I had and things like that. But the basic premise was there was a strip down the center of it and they had some, I think they had some layers or something, and I decided that I wanted to do a scallop border on each side of that central layer and then do sort of an inside to outside layout. So putting the 2 different types of pictures on either side of that column and then using that as the base and then sort of keeping the title and everything sort of toward that center column. So my first step, I'm going to use I had another punch that's a larger scallop, but it was, I think, too big a scale for that small floral print. So I'm using this smaller scallop punch. I think this is super old Stampin' Up! Punch. I'd really like a more medium-sized scallop. So that may be something that I want to add to my tools at some point. So I'm making the scallop here, and then I'm just cutting it as a thin 1/2 inch border strip, essentially. I don't know why I didn't think to ink all of this, but I didn't. I just did clean lines. I think maybe I thought about it and thought, well, my daughter kind of likes clean lines, so I won't ink this. So here I'm going to make sure this picture moves in a bit. I don't want it all the way to the outside. I kind of want everything anchored to that central column. So that's the basic layout. And now I've already matted the photos in the black, and so now I'm going to mat this one in green. And it's the same green as I did for the scallops. And I'm just using my mat to make sure I get that in the center. I did overlap that central column just a little bit, just to keep it kind of thin, and that allows me to move these photos in a bit. And now I'm going to mat all 3 of the photos on the pink grid because I wanted to pull that in. So the singular photo is now, well, really quadruple matted if you white, black, green, pink grid. And the other two just have the black and the pink grid. So just trimming it up, making my adjustments. That's why I always use repositionable adhesive, because I'm always making small adjustments like that. And the reason I swapped those photos is I just was able to cover the ceiling lights. So I went off. The reason I cut this video here is I really was struggling to find ephemera from the stuff I had on my desk. So I opened my binders, and boy, oh boy, did I find a lot of ephemera. And surprisingly, I had so much that matched. I don't have any ephemera that goes with this paper pad, you guys, but I had a ton of stuff in my binders that worked great. There's a peachy color, there's a pink color, I've got the black, it's got a real pretty sagey green in here. So it was really easy to find them. And I had a die cut, a die that cuts these film strips, and I'd been wanting to use that on a page, so I went ahead and cut those since it's, you know, photo related. And I have this little bitty camera. I probably should have made a bigger camera for this, but I'm okay with it. The film strips give the idea. So I just had I do not use all of this ephemera, but there was so much that looked good and fit. So what I don't put on there, I just am putting in a little container at the top of my desk, and those will stay out until I finish this little series, and then I'll put them back in the binders. Just because I'm likely to continue to use some of the same themes and colors on these pages that I have. And some of these are really old pieces of ephemera. I'm really loving those ephemera binders. So if you're struggling to sort through and use your ephemera, I really suggest that maybe you go watch my video on organizing my ephemera. I think there's a part 1 and a part 2. The binders are working for me, and you can modify the system to match how you scrapbook by topic or color or whatever. But it's working for me. And I'm finally making use of some really old stuff that I've had in my stash. So here I'm just auditioning pieces. Things get moved around quite a bit. I did pull out these little frames are from Chamel and Wordy Bits. I'm not sure if I found any that were appropriate here. So here I'm just going to layer that on top of another piece of ephemera and tuck it in, just to make more layers. And this is where I found my title, Oh Snap. Again, a little photo related. And this is on a Vicky Bouton puffy sticker sheet. So I'm ready to start committing things down. And things move when I start putting them down, as always. They never quite go in exactly the same locations. And that's okay. And then a few things I popped up. I really liked this heart. Not sure what collection it came from, but these are old. I think they are Heidi Swapp, and a bunch of arrows and different things. And the star was the perfect colors, even though it didn't come from this paper collection. So I'm trying to resist the urge to spread ephemera all over the page and really trying to keep it to clusters. That's difficult for me. I like to spread things out. So I'm going to pop up the little camera, and that's partly because it's small, so I wanted to give it a little more emphasis. And see, again, I was spreading out that ephemera, so trying to pull it all back together. This rainbow was the perfect colors as well. I really liked it with this. And then I decide I want to add a few more of the florals, so I'm going to fussy cut a few of they're all pretty small, but I do a couple of the bigger ones. I do not do the teeny tiny ones. I don't mind fussy cutting, but I'm not crazed about cutting out teeny tiny ones. If you've ever watched Laura Albert's videos, she would cut all those tiny things out and have them able to be sprinkled all over her page, and I'm not that good of a fussy cutter. So a few more items. So these florals I had in my stash as well, and some of them have little gold centers. So I liked that. And it was fun to pull out some black florals here. So fussy cutting a few more little things. And that's just to tie in all the little floral clusters with each other so that there's a little bit of each type of flower in each cluster. This page did probably take me a couple of hours to do. which is not unusual for me. It's pretty rare that I get a page done in under an hour because I do a lot of, I guess I'm a little indecisive about things sometimes. And fussy cutting takes a while, and going through all your binders looking for ephemera can take a while. Though it's much faster now with the binders than it was when I was going through 14 different locations for ephemera. So you can see that I've moved those things around, and I am happier with it because it creates more of a triangle that encompasses the photos. So just getting everything stuck down. And popping up some of the florals, some of the items. All right, so at this point, I think I'm close to done. And then I decide I'm going to add some sprinkles. So in just a minute, you'll see me come back, and I've covered the photos with Post-its to add some sprinkles. So here's where I think I'm doing finishing touches, but I'm not. I even picked it up and did close-ups, but I've cut that part out because I sat it down and said, oh goodness, this really, really needs something else. So I'm looking at these Vicky Bouton to see if there's anything else I can pull. I had pulled 1 or 2 items from it, and there were some gold dots. So I'm adding the gold dots. This is from Vicky Bouton Print Shop. They're really nice. They're just cardstock, but they don't really look it. They look really sort of luxurious, these little gold dots. So I add those instead of enamel dots. And then the last step is some sprinkles. Sorry, you can hear my dog moving around maybe. All right, just double checking those. I pull those out all the time, and I very often find things that I like on it. So here I'm using my metallic watercolors and using them to sprinkle, and that was kind of a dark green. I wanted to pull in some of that green. And then I also have a pink, and they're called metallics, but they're pearlized. So just adding 2 different colors of sprinkles. And now we're about ready for some close-ups. Oh, I take the pink iridescent and add a little to the center of some of the flowers that are showing, just for a little more sparkle. And these are some very light metallic Nouveau drops. Kind of a soft taupey pearl. And give you a little close-up of some of those clusters and the sprinkles. Really happy with how this came out. Thanks, you guys, and come back for more layouts.